but a lot of things would get stirred up in the area. So here we are up in New York in Peekskill at the end of a Robeson concert. And as the cars were leaving, the cops pulled Boulard out of his car, and there's still a video out there today of the cops beating him with nightsticks. They broke his glasses. They hammered him up pretty good. And part of our history. An embarrassing time for Peekskill, New York. This happened in around 54, I think it was. And there's the life in a nutshell of the first African-American born fighter pilot who ever lived, and a story that's never been told in a movie. And I think it would be a real good time for Hollywood producers to jump on that one.
Yeah, I think that's probably the winner of all the different movie ideas we discussed here. If there's anything that could come out, Boulard, that's probably it. So if there's any producers out there, John, I think you've earned yourself hopefully advisor credit or something like that, if you can get on board something that comes out. Well, yeah, I'd like to give you a big thanks for doing this, and you being on my show, and I guess me being on your show too, since we're cross-promoting here. And
we'll let everyone know we're going to launch both of these shows at the same time. So keep an eye on us for when they come out. And I definitely would like you to give our fans all your information of how they can find your show, okay? And then I'll do the same. So I'll go ahead and tell our fans how they can get in touch with you or how they can find your show.
Yeah, the easiest way is if you go to historyunpluggedpodcast.com. That gives you the episode info. That tells you how you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or whatever you listen to. In terms of interaction, I prefer Facebook. Yeah, I know data breaches. It's not the best thing right now, but we have a pretty good community. So if you want to follow up and discuss with other people about any of the latest episodes, just go to Facebook, search for History Unplugged, and you'll find it right there. And John, your show, 1001 Heroes, Legends, Histories, and Mysteries, where is the best place for people to find you? And also, I wanted to ask you, what do you think are 3 episodes of yours that are the best entry point into your show?
Of course, the topics that we just covered, I've got shows. The Lost Colony is one of my shows. Anastasia is another 2-part show we had. The Katyn Massacre of the Soviets in Poland at the outbreak of World War II is a 2-part show. It's quite excellent. But you can find Heroes, Legends, Histories, and Mysteries wherever great podcasts are found. Just search 1001 Heroes. I do have a network of shows. I have another show which is just as big, which does classic short stories, and that's called 1001 Classic Short Stories and Tales. And you could catch all my episodes for all my shows at 1001storiespodcast.com. So that's www.1001storiespodcast.com. At Facebook, we're at 1001 Heroes, and at Twitter, it's at 1001 Podcast. So we'd love to have you join us.
All right. Yeah. And you can find both those shows at the URLs we gave you.
Could you, Scott, also give us maybe 3 shows that you would recommend to newcomers? So when we have people coming across to listen to your shows, which ones do you think they should start with?
To follow up on the topics I mentioned, the first one is on World War II spies. So you can hear stories of people who infiltrated the Manhattan Project, members of the French underground. A second episode is about a Victorian explorer named Richard Francis Burton, who translated the Kama Sutra to English. He traveled in disguise to Mecca, and he also knew 29 languages. Quite a guy. The third thing I'd recommend is I did a 5-part series on a history of slavery from the ancient world up to abolition. Episode 2, I talk a lot about the Viking slave trade. So if you want to look more about Viking culture, find out all the Europeans who were caught up in raids, enslaved, and taken from their small village in England and Ireland and sold on the Volga River or even sold in Arabia. And you can find that in that series. So it's called A History of Slavery.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I think we'll do this again sometime. This has been a lot of fun and very interesting history you shared with us. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, well, that was the episode for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. First of all, I'd like to thank the Knowlton's Rangers, and especially our spymasters, Baron Freza, Carl from Norway, Chris from Maine, and Melissa Sarnowski, and I'll explain what that means in a second. If you want to support the show and help me keep producing this content, there are 4 easy ways for you to do it. 1. Subscribe to the show and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you want to do that, you can go to historyunpluggedpodcast.com and there you'll find instructions. 2. Join our Facebook group, which you can find if you just search for History Unplugged. And please like and share posts that I put up about new episodes. 3. Submit a question to me so that I can answer it on air. You can email me at info@historyonthenet.com or leave a voicemail. And again, go to historyunpluggedpodcast.com and you'll find instructions. Lastly, and I think this one is the best, is to become one of the Knowlton's Rangers. The Knowlton's Rangers were an elite reconnaissance and espionage detachment of the Continental Army in the Revolutionary War, but it's also the name of the History Unplugged membership program. Learn how to join by going to patreon.com/unplugged. So here's what you get if you become one of the Knowlton's Rangers. If you join at the level of Scout, you can get early access to new podcast episodes, along with enjoying absolutely every single episode of the History Unplugged podcast ad-free. All 270 and counting episodes. If you join at the level of Intelligence Officer, you can also get access to premium episodes, like a multi-part series on the life of Audie Murphy, the most decorated combat soldier in World War II, or the 10-part series Ottoman Lives, a series that looks at the cast of characters that made up the Ottoman Empire, such as the Sultan, the Eunuch, the harem servant girl, and the soldier. And finally, if you join at the level of Spymaster, you get all the same stuff as the Scouts and Intelligence Officers, but you also get a shout-out to you and or your business at the end of each episode, a 3-pack of hardcover history books, plus you'll be put at the very front of the line for me to answer your question about history, and I can guarantee I will dedicate an episode that's about an hour long or so to your question. Sign up at patreon.com/unplugged. Again, that's patreon.com/unplugged. Anyway, those are the ways you can help out the show. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks for listening to the History Unplugged podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show to get your daily dose of all things history related, from ancient Greece to the Cold War. We'll see you next time at the History Unplugged podcast.